Peasant Productions presents the Math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. I've got this Revelation 2:17 thing here, and just to give you folks a little bit of background in kind of the fun, polite sort of way here about that. 58 years ago, 1960, my mother booted me out of the house, gave me to a man who immediately told me that, you ain't my kid, you ain't never gonna be my kid, and you aren't even allowed to say you're my kid, and you're gonna pay every cent it costs me to raise you back. Needless to say, yeah, as a little tiny kid and very, very intelligent, I realized my goose was cooked. This guy, I could see his energy and know that he was a pretty bad person to be around. And 3 days later, I walked up and said, "Hey, is it true I live here? Do I live here now?" "Yeah." "Okay, fine." And I turned around and walked away, and that was the end of that discussion. But a point in time where I went ahead and dropped into some heavy-duty meditation and connected with the spiritual realm, at which point I was informed, okay, yes, this is your contract. Yeah, you're going to go through some pretty heavy stuff here because we need you to look for this thing called the El Diablo, Satan, the devil, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't matter, demons and, stuff like that type of a thing, and see if there's any such possibility of a spiritual entity somehow existing solely on one planet. Okay? A spiritual entity cannot be contained within a physical object, so you cannot contain the devil, and consequently also understand this, the devil cannot contain itself only to the planet. Its energy is everywhere. It has to be, if it's a fallen god, okay, which is technically what your angels are to you, or gods and semi-gods, okay, then this El Diablo, this devil, this Satan, has to be somewhere on the planet. Its energy has to be able to be seen and understood that it exists. Okay, if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. Okay, there's nothing there. At that point in time, I was also introduced to the Christ object, or both the Christ object and the Christ entity. Okay. And the Christ entity informed me that yes, that sun going overhead is what I basically work through and do, and that's when I learned that yeah, my energy shines down on everything. Nothing can stop it, nothing can block it, humans don't control it, and the Bible over here says that the Pope himself can prevent you, or a Catholic priest, or a Christian priest, or even the Jews and the Muslims, well, claim that they, as humans, can prevent you from being near their God. Now, like I said, it's a tangled web of BS on their end, and if you want to believe that, that's perfectly fine until you start killing other people. Remember, you have it in here, your 10 Commandments, okay? It is a divide and conquer system. Now, to give you a little bit to think about backwards of this, of where this religion came from, keep in mind, like I just said, the real Christ entity, if Christ is even his real name in anything but the English language, is the sun. Well, gee, this is supposed, this is, coming around from the Romans, who were noted for stealing stuff, and the Jews claim that they walked out of Egypt with their God. Well, let's see, Egypt was sun worshippers. Yeah, Ra was the sun. Yes. It shines down on everybody, yeah. And there's numerous others in just Egypt, okay? You go deeper into Africa, you have all kinds of sun-worshipping cultures down through there. You go easterly, toward, into the subcontinent of India, Pakistan, and the Polynesian Islands, and Indonesia, and up into China, and Japan, and Korea. And gee, guess what? Almost every single one of those very old ancient cultures that were around before Rome and Romans also had sun worshippers. You go forward, you have the Celtics in all of Europe that were sun worshippers, and they, and they spent enormous amounts of time paying attention to the heavens and building these monuments and stuff that allowed them to track the passage of the stars and then know the seasons and stuff. And yeah, they were all wiped out by the Christians and Catholics and whatever else they could possibly use against them. You go to North America. Gee, I'm in Mexico. 50 million Aztecs who were sun worshippers were murdered by the Christians and Catholics coming to this country. North America, United States territory, 150 million Native Americans who respected their planet, and yes, there is all kinds of sun worship in the various cultures across all of those hundreds of tribes that actually existed in those different cultures that existed. You go into Canada, same thing. You go up into the Eskimos, same thing. I don't care where you go. South America, the most remote island on this planet, and guess what? You got sun worshippers. You go up onto ski slopes, you got sun worshippers. You go down onto the beach, you got sun worshippers. You get us old farts that grew up sailing. Leather skin, yes, but we worship the sun because we love a good wind and fair skies. Okay? So you see the problem with arguing against my Revelations 2:17 mark before you even try and enter the spiritual realm is that I keep telling you all of the stuff that creates this murdering religion. Okay? They have gone out and decimated somewhere to the tune of about 3 billion people on this entire planet over the past 1,700 years. Decimated. Okay? Very pathetic. Very pathetic. But that's why the real Christ entity, the one that gave me the Revelation 2:17 stone, was so perturbed. How dare you take an entity that is about life and is about acceptance? Because that entity shines its energy on the whole planet. It does not say, oh, there's Donald Trump, I don't like him, he can't have any sunlight today. Okay? Donald Trump gets sunlight, I get sunlight, the people of this town, they've been trying to steal and kill from me and do all kinds of mean and horrible things because they're Christians and Catholics, and they see their big churches that bring literally 10 to 15 million dollars per year go from this little pilgrimage town to the Vatican directly. Okay? They steal from the people live in rags, the people treat each other like garbage. The whole Christian Catholic religion is based on the idea of being a bully and teaching bullying and being arrogant and teaching arrogance and racism and all of that kind of stuff. And these people live it, they do it, okay? And I carry the highest mark and the closest connection possible to their God, to the Vatican's God. That's why I say, when over 2 years ago, I walked into that church and I told them, hey, I'm here and I have this mark. Here's some basic ideas and information that you will never have thought about that mark and how it easily proves that I do actually have a mark and I do actually know something about it, and I did actually get it from the Christ entity itself. And your local town saint also informed me that it wants me to talk to you about your behavior and what you teach these people. And in 2 years, they have never, ever brought any high-ranking cardinals or bishops or anything like that here. They have not done anything whatsoever to facilitate the fact that as a representative of their God, they needed to come and talk to me, and they didn't. So they literally, knowing their book is a fake, they literally ran away. The Vatican itself, the Pope itself, the hierarchy of the Christian and Catholic churches ran away from being challenged about the truth of what they do. They threw me out in 1961. I'm still walking around alive. I'm still beating the devil of human, like I said, the humans are the devil. They created their own garbage. They blame somebody else all the time, and now they have to live with it. But yeah, you have this whole entire mess. And like I said, the paradigm shift is coming to the realization that A, humans are not the only thing in the universe that matters. Immediately deflates the arrogance and immediately deflates the ego. And B, the gods asked you to live on a planet in cooperation, acceptance of all other life. You were not here to exterminate everything but the pretty little rose flowers that you want in your garden, and everything else was to be turned into desert and wasteland, okay? So as I say, you have to stop and really think about the fact that you go back through Egypt, you go back through the Aztecs, you go back through the Asian cultures, you go back through African, you go back through North America, South America, the various islands. Everywhere you go, there has always been a worship of the sun as a giver of life, a restoring of energy, of a continuous cycle of life. And you pick up that Bible and you start reading it with that kind of an understanding, and suddenly you understand why they tell the little parables and the little stories they do about how you're supposed to never go talk to those gods. You're only supposed to come talk to the clergy and get the clergy's permission. They don't want you to realize that the spiritual realm is that easy and open to find, that easy and open to talk to, that easy and open to check facts through. It's 100% there. And that's why I say, try and find some culture on this planet that has existed in the past, say, 25,000 years, just to be polite. When you get back to the cave paintings, you see more of them doing the hunting of animals and stuff. But you can still find, say, the Aborigines in Australia, which go back about 35 to 40,000 years, and they had respect for their planet, and they had respect for the life-giving sun itself, and various things like that, and all of their stuff was tied in. So it goes way back, folks. The Christ entity is not owned by a Bible or a book or a pope or a preacher, and as a human soul, you cannot be put in a box or a container and owned by something else. So no God owns you. No devil owns you. You could not be born into sin because the gods don't birth you in sin. You might be born in ignorance. You might need to learn lessons. You might be here to be spiritually enlightened and learn something. Yes, that's the standard of life. Remember, trillions of universes every microsecond are happening. Any scientist that says, oh no, that is impossible, is obviously a closed-minded person, because he is immediately stepping into his little room, closing all the windows and doors, and saying, I can't measure anything outside there, therefore it doesn't exist. Okay? Also, as you can see, you have all kinds of New Age people popping up, and just like this religion makes money off of lying and cheating and stealing you, they too realize that it's a con game for using religion as something, and when you're actually spiritual like me and you just simply stick your neck out on the chopping block and say go for it, yeah, then you scare the snot out of people. Okay?